In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro made a symbolic and politically charged move on September 26, 2025, as he announced the promotion of 3 retired military figures to the rank of brigadier generals. These men had fought alongside the late President Hugo Chávez during the failed 1992 coup attempt that set the foundation for Venezuela's modern revolutionary movement. The announcement was made during a nationally televised ceremony in Sucre State, where the Venezuelan armed forces were conducting large-scale military exercises in the Caribbean Sea. These exercises included live fire drills with explosions, artillery barrages aimed at mock maritime targets, and the deployment of naval vessels and ground troops. The display of military power appeared not only as a show of strength, but also as a message of defiance in the face of what Maduro has repeatedly described as ongoing threats from the United States. The president used the occasion to deliver a fiery address, honoring the legacy of the revolutionary struggle that brought Chávez to power and to rally the country's military behind his leadership. The event opened with dramatic scenes broadcast on Venezuelan state television. Cameras captured wide shots of explosions as Venezuelan army units carried out live fire drills. Naval vessels were shown firing at designated maritime targets, while soldiers aboard ships operated radars and weapons systems. The exercises extended across several points in the Caribbean waters off Sucre State, with columns of naval ships maneuvering in formation. The participation of the Venezuelan police force in these exercises further underscored the show of internal security coordination. Wide and mid-range shots displayed soldiers practicing defensive tactics, while command centers inside the vessels coordinated the simulated attacks. For Maduro, these exercises were a demonstration of military readiness and national resolve at a time of renewed tensions with Washington. Central to Maduro's address was the recognition of 3 retired soldiers who had once stood beside Hugo Chávez during the 1992 failed uprising against then-President Carlos Andrés Pérez. This insurrection, though unsuccessful, had planted the seeds for the Bolivarian revolution that Chávez later led to power. Speaking with solemnity, Maduro declared, "They are 3 prodigies who carry on the legacy of the great revolutionary movement of 200. With this promotion, Maduro sought to link his administration more closely to the revolutionary origins of Venezuela's current political system, portraying these figures as living symbols of perseverance and dedication to the cause. The men promoted had long been regarded as loyalists within the military establishment, and their elevation to brigadier general served as a message to both allies and critics that the revolutionary legacy remains firmly embedded in the state's leadership. During the ceremony, Maduro held aloft a ceremonial sword, evoking the spirit of South America's independence struggles. He referred to it as a sacred emblem connecting Venezuela's present-day revolution to its historical roots in the battles led by Simón Bolívar, the liberator of much of South America from Spanish colonial rule. This sword represents the highest glory of the people of Peru, of the people of South America, for their liberator, Simón Bolívar. This reference to Bolívar, a national hero whose legacy was also central to Hugo Chávez's political vision, was intended to reinforce the ideological continuity between past struggles for independence and the present-day Bolivarian revolution. Maduro's speech came amid heightened rhetoric against the United States, which he accused of exerting political and economic pressure on Venezuela. While he did not announce new policies during the event, his tone was one of resistance and defiance. The president portrayed the promotion of the former Chávez allies as part of a broader effort to defend Venezuela's sovereignty. By highlighting their history of rebellion against what they perceived as oppressive regimes, he signaled to his supporters that the current leadership remained steadfast in resisting what he described as foreign interference. Throughout his presidency, Maduro has frequently framed his government's policies as a continuation of the anti-imperialist struggle begun by Bolívar and championed by Chávez. This ceremony was yet another instance of that narrative. The 1992 coup attempt, led by then-Lieutenant Colonel Hugo Chávez, was a defining moment in Venezuelan history. Though it failed militarily and resulted in Chávez's imprisonment, it brought him national attention as a figure of resistance against corruption and inequality. 6 years later, Chávez would be elected president, ushering in a new era of socialist governance. By elevating the men who stood beside Chávez during that pivotal event, Maduro sought to rekindle the revolutionary spirit among both the military and the civilian population. Analysts noted that this move also served to shore up support among the armed forces, which have historically played a critical role in Venezuela's political stability. The ceremony in Sucre was thus both a commemoration of the past and a strategic political gesture for the present. Television footage showed the newly promoted brigadier generals standing in formal military attire, saluting as they received their ranks. Maduro, dressed in his presidential sash and flanked by senior military officers, delivered his remarks in a firm yet ceremonious tone. The atmosphere was one of both solemn respect and political theatre. The use of live military exercises as a backdrop added a sense of urgency and strength to the proceedings, projecting Venezuela's military readiness to both domestic and international audiences. Observers noted that such events are a staple of Maduro's leadership style, combining symbolism, historical references, and demonstrations of military might to reinforce his authority and the ideological foundations of his government. The promotion of these figures and the emphasis on revolutionary history comes at a time when Venezuela continues to grapple with political polarization, economic hardship, and strained relations with the United States and several regional neighbors. By turning to the legacy of the 1992 coup and honoring Chávez's comrades, Maduro signaled his intent to double down on the revolutionary narrative that has defined Venezuela's politics for over 2 decades. This approach continues to resonate with a significant portion of the population that identifies with Chávez's vision, even as it alienates others who seek political reform and greater international engagement. Analysts suggested that the ceremony was not just about honoring history, but also about consolidating loyalty within the ranks of the armed forces. In a country where the military's allegiance has often been decisive in political crises, such gestures carry considerable weight. While immediate international responses to the promotions were muted, the timing of the event, coinciding with Venezuela's heightened tensions with Washington, did not go unnoticed by observers. The display of military exercises in the Caribbean, coupled with rhetoric about resisting foreign threats, was widely seen as a signal of defiance directed at the United States. Some regional analysts warned that such moves could exacerbate diplomatic frictions, particularly if they were perceived as provocative demonstrations of military capability. Others viewed the ceremony as largely symbolic, aimed more at bolstering domestic morale than at altering the strategic balance in the region. As the ceremony concluded, Maduro once again invoked the revolutionary lineage that he claims to uphold, linking the sacrifices of past struggles to the current political and economic challenges facing Venezuela. The emphasis on Bolívar's legacy, the homage to Chávez's comrades, and the backdrop of military drills all served to reinforce the narrative of resistance and national pride. For Maduro, the promotion of these 3 retired soldiers was more than an act of recognition. It was a reaffirmation of the ideological path his government continues to follow. By highlighting their role in the 1992 uprising and connecting it to Venezuela's broader history of anti-imperialist struggle, he sought to present his administration as the rightful inheritor of the country's revolutionary tradition. As Venezuela navigates ongoing internal and external pressures, events like this underscore how deeply intertwined its political discourse remains with the figures and symbols of its revolutionary past.